Welcome to the Kennedy Report. I'm Kennedy Hall. Is Pope Francis restoring the Catholic Church? Okay, before I continue, check the links in the description. Like and subscribe to this video and this channel. We have a donation link. We need your help. It's been overwhelming, the support we've had. I mean, the money coming in, we're already going to be able to get new equipment and sort of make this a studio feel. Thank you so much to everybody. We've got premium subscriber benefits coming. Stay tuned for that. You can get on our mailing list by going to thekennedyreport.com. Everything you need is there at thekennedyreport.com. We also post our videos on Rumble. We're having success on YouTube, and we like it here. But, you know, it's always good to have another one as well. Alrighty. So, is Pope Francis restoring the Catholic Church? Well, before I continue, you don't have to believe that Pope Francis is your buddy and the best pope we've ever had. I don't believe that. You don't have to believe that to believe that God could use an imperfect instrument to do something good for his church. Nothing is impossible with God. Therefore, using Pope Francis as his instrument is not impossible. We often talk about politicians playing 4D chess, you know, manipulating society. What are they doing? Who knows? And then it turns out that they're actually doing something that brings about some sort of good benefit. And we go, wow, they're so smart. Well, that may be true. But if a politician can play 4D chess, then God can play like infinite D. Is that a thing? Infinite D chess? Infinity D chess? I don't know. God does not cause evil to happen, moral evils, you know, but he will allow it to happen. So whatever Pope Francis has done that has been evil to the church, this is not God's will, but it's passively or permitted by God. So it's in his permissive will. And there be reasons for that we don't understand. It's not our story to tell, it's God's. So why am I asking this question, is Pope Francis restoring the church? Well, on the way to Mass last Sunday, my oldest son was asking me about St. Francis. We have about an hour drive to Mass, so he asks me a lot of questions. And he asked me to tell him about Pope Francis. And I've read G.K. Chesterton's biography on Francis 1.5 times, and I've listened to some stuff, and it's, you know, he's a great saint, of course, a wonderful, wonderful saint. So St. Francis, if you know the story of him, Cole's notes, the seminal moment when he was at a crossroads in life. You know, he wanted to go and be a crusader. He wanted to go and be a knight. And he got sick. He was moved by his love for the poor. He was ashamed of himself for not helping the poor, for being scared of the leper, that sort of thing. But he had this seminal moment when he was sort of starting his path to become the St. Francis that we knew of, you know, like the beggar and the mendicant preacher and that sort of thing. And he was told by God to rebuild my church. That was what he was told. So he went and he actually physically did that. He went and he physically tried to build up the church in his village. And he actually ended up selling a bunch of his dad's stuff without his permission. And he actually kind of had a consequentialist outlook where he did an evil. He basically stole from his dad, thinking he could do the good thing to the church. But then he realized after that God was not calling him to just rebuild a physical parish, as good as that may do. He was calling him to rebuild the Catholic Church. Now, you might think to yourself, wasn't this in the Golden Age? Wasn't everything perfect before the Second Vatican Council? There have been times in the church when things have been better. But there's a reason why Our Lady had to come and visit St. Dominic, for example, because, you know, a heresy was about to swallow up the Mediterranean basin of Europe. You know, so there have been better times, but, you know, there's a myth of a golden age all the way through. In any case, Pope Francis chose the name Francis. And Francis's papacy has been very much a disaster in many ways. He's been very much a materialist. You know, all of his efforts have been focused on the earth in a very environmentalist sense. Certain economic things in a very environmentalist sense. He's basically been someone who has looked for worldly means to fix the church and society. And that's not what God is looking for. And that's not what God was looking for with St. Francis. St. Francis found his calling when he realized it was actually a spiritual solution that was needed to fix the temporal order. And the rest is history. Go read about him. G.K. Chesterton's biography is amazing. St. Francis also had a major conversion. It's sort of debated, how much of a, maybe the term would be something like party boy. I mean, whatever he was before he was the St. Francis we know, but he wasn't the saint. But he had a conversion. Well, we saw Pope Francis perform the consecration of Russia, and I believe it was a very beautiful ceremony. I believe that it was sincere. Before you think that he hasn't had a conversion, I have no idea if he has. I'm just saying we can't know that. We've all had conversions. We've all done disgusting things. If you haven't, congratulations, you're one of a few people. And we've all come to the faith and we've come to love Our Lady and things. And that journey is our own and it's not for somebody else. Pope Francis is a man. He could have the same thing. But I'll say one more thing here before I conclude. Pope Francis inherited the church in probably one of the worst times in church history. Disorder, heresy, Freemasonry. I mean, all these things have been in the church for decades now, century or more. It's been a disaster. Not even a great pope like St. Pius XII could stop what was coming, ultimately. So, has Pope Francis led to the restoration of the church? Well, in a way, I think he objectively has, and I'll say it this way. I think he inherited the church in a way that was full of so much disorder and disarray that in order to rebuild the thing, like his namesake, St. Francis, I think he had to tear it down. Can you rebuild something that is filled with termites? Can you rebuild something that's decayed? You almost have to kill it in order for it to be reborn. You almost have to tear it down in order to rebuild. And I think that's what Francis has done. I think he's been tearing it down with things, actions against tradition, the Pachamama nonsense. I mean, it's been a disaster. But then out of nowhere, he comes and he does the one thing that could lead to the restoration of the church, the supernatural solution that Our Lady of Fatima gave us, which will lead to an era, God willing, the triumph of the Immaculate Heart. Clearly, the church will be restored during the triumph. And that one action that had to be done that no popes before him could do the way that Our Lady asked was this consecration, naming Russia to the Immaculate Heart in a ceremony in union with the bishops. And he did it. So has Pope Francis led to the restoration of the church? I think, again, I believe this consecration was real. And I think I have to say yes, because that is the one thing that had to be done that no one had done. Regardless of Pope Francis's past, just like his namesake, I think God has said to him in some way, rebuild my church. I think he tore the thing down, and now he's done the one thing that can actually build the thing back up. This is just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, which I hope you have, please like the channel, like the video, subscribe. I've said this at the beginning of the video. Go to thekennedyReport.com. We need your help. All donations are welcome. Links in the description. Everything is there. And if you do want to be useful for the restoration of the church, you need to become a stronger Catholic man. Or maybe your husband does, or your brother, your dad. Terror of Demons, Reclaiming Traditional Catholic Masculinity. Everything's in there. This is published by Tan Books. I also have a book called Lockdown with the Devil. Links for those in the descriptions as well. All right, that's enough of me for today. This has been the Kennedy Report. Until next time, God bless.